Hi everyone, welcome and welcome back to our YouTube channel. This is Shiko. I'm so glad that you could join me today.
Hi guys, this is Modoni Maina. Thank you so much for joining us for our episode today.
And in this YouTube channel, we are all about mental health awareness, self-discovery, and we are also very passionate about self-awareness.
Yeah. So if you like our content, you could share to your friends, you could subscribe and hit the notification bell so that every time we upload a video, you guys are going to get notified on the same. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. And we have been on a journey, on a series. We have been trying to understand and to get to have more knowledge about mental health wellness. And we started by saying that mental health wellness contains three facets. We spoke about the emotional, we spoke about the psychological, and we also spoke about the social. And in the last video, please, if you haven't watched, please go back and watch. We talked about emotions. We touched a little bit on that. And today we wanted to go to the next issue or the next topic that is going to be psychological. So without much further ado, let us get into the discussion. And we would like you as well to participate and tell us what you think about, every topic that we talk about. So let us open the discussion on talking about what the psychological facet in mental health well-being, what it means and what it entails.
Yeah, I think there is so much people want to talk about and say and think, and people have formed things about psychological perspective, psychological views. So I think it's important the way we've opened up the discussion about psychological perspective relating to mental wellness. So what is it to you?
For me, I would say, because I want to be as open so that you give more information. But I would say that psychological things entail about how you perceive things, and also doing well and doing better for yourself, on a very personal level. And when you say psychological facet, we mean that there are things that you internalize on your own.
Yes.
There are things that you internalize in your mind, in your brain. There are things, that you process individually, because those things that you process are what you give out.
Okay.
That is what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because psychology relates to the mind. Because now when we think, it is then coming to us behaving. So for me, psychological perspective relates to the ability for me and you to be able to have a sense of autonomy. Am I being able to accept myself, self-awareness, self-esteem? Yeah. So when I talk about autonomy, I'm talking about me being able to stand with my own decision, making my own decision, and having that self-governance in my life, so that even if you come and tell me today you can shave your hair, you can bleach your skin so that you look like me, that is your view. I have taken in what you have to tell me, but again, I have now to come and make my own decision. I can govern myself. I can tell myself, do this, do not do that. When I say self acceptance, it's now that the side that I accept myself, who I am. I've known my weaknesses, I've known my strength, but I accept myself. When I talk about my self-esteem, it's now evaluating my worth. Even with what I have and with what I do not have. That's why you find a person has a low self-esteem, another one has a high self-esteem. It's the self-confidence with what I have. Okay. Yeah, I think that is what relates to psychological perspective.
Yeah. And then having said that, then we can say that the psychological facet normally makes us to have a better social life, or a better social, interaction, a better, understanding of the environment we are in. So I think it's important.
I actually think also that these three facets interact.
Yes.
So that when you are not emotionally well, there is no way you could be psychologically okay. If you're not psychologically okay, it will definitely affect your social interactions.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And just for us to build on that a little bit, like we have said, the psychological perspective is just how you are able to like see things and
Yeah.
perceive things,
Yes.
and being autonomous. The reason why like we are also saying like those three things are related, it's because the way you see yourself, the way you perceive of your failures, your successes, the way you perceive whatever other people think of you is important. Because if like you feel other people think you're not beautiful, you're going to do something to work on that beauty.
Yeah.
But if you believe in yourself that, guess what, this is who I am and I like myself the way I am, then that does not affect you. It will not affect you emotionally. It will not even affect you socially when you go to your peers or like to people out there in the society. You become somebody who is very, very self-aware and who is also self-accepting, right? Because in every human being, we have good positive things and negative things.
Yes.
There are things I like about myself and there are things that I don't like about myself.
Yeah.
So if my psychological is working well, then like I'll be able to even deal with other people better.
That's true.
That's right.
Very true. So it's also important for us as we look into ourselves. Whatever I like, whatever I do not like, let me introspect that, let me internalize that, and let me accept myself. Speak to myself positive things. If it is my nose, there you could imagine somebody doesn't like the nose, the eyes, the teeth, and I'm sure before even the other person comes to tell you your teeth that don't look nice, in yourself that yes, indeed they don't, but you accept, you embrace yourself.
Yeah.
So it's important. Last time we talked about journaling. I think we shall do a series on journaling one of these fine days. But it's important that you tell yourself, give yourself that positive energy. Let that motivation also come from within. To love yourself, to look into yourself, take care of yourself. That is why you see someone is getting into drugs. You've not loved yourself, because right now, if you told me that me taking drugs will actually kill me, will make me have cancer, and then I love myself, would I even afford that for myself? There was no way I'm going to do that. So there also the other thing I've forgotten to say, it's having a purpose in life. When now you know yourself, you have thought about yourself, you have talked about one thinking about the things he or she wants. Now you're able to have a purpose for yourself. A purpose now is a direction. Where am I heading? For example, for you, Shiko, now since you're here, since you're this beautiful, what do you want for yourself? It's not just the beauty that you're going to see each and every other day. We also need to see you progressing also in other areas, right?
Yeah. Wow, that's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So now, because we've put it out there, what this psychological facet means and how it relates to us on individual levels, let us now try to understand like how then can we be able to improve our psychological well-being. How do we like get ourselves there? If somebody is not yet able to recognize that this is what psychological perspective entails, how do we make them now improve it? Because now we have made them aware of such a thing exists. So how do we help them to improve their psychological perspective in order for them to be able to take care of their mental health?
I think for me the first thing is to deal with everything that revolves around the self, the self-awareness, the self-esteem, the self-talk, the self-image, everything about that. Let a person be able to develop that for himself. Sometimes we get caught up in things. We get caught up in our friendships, in our work, and then we forget about the self. So develop yourself, love yourself. If it is your self-esteem, work on it. If it is you being self-aware, we learned about emotions last time. So how am I able to manage my emotions? I'm definitely going to come from a point of me knowing which emotion am I exhibiting. So let us first deal with the self. When I'm aware of something, I'll be able to deal with it, right? Okay. So after dealing with that, now I can continue now working on it, working towards it. Let me have a goal of improving myself, developing myself daily. That is why we have these videos actually, so that we can develop the self. Yeah.
True.
Yeah, also take some time to get positive feedback. For example, when I'm with you, you see, it is all revolving around the self. Sawa sawa. Because psychological, I can tell you something, but I cannot think for you. That thing I'm going to tell you, it's going to have an impact only to you. So it again comes now to you, to the level of you. So to improve the psychological well-being, you must improve the self. Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah.
I think I would like to put it out there that it's important for you, in order for you to be able to take care of your psyche.
Yeah.
It's important for you to have like purpose, to be able to identify your purpose or create your purpose, because our lives normally evolve around purpose. Like whatever you're doing or whatever, like for me to live my life, I need to feel that I'm living for a certain purpose.
Yeah.
If, for example, it's you like being a mother in the future, or being a wife, or being a CEO, or being an influential person, that's a purpose, right? And so you're going to feel that whatever I am doing in life, I am here to fulfill a certain purpose. Let me tell you something. Purpose is very important. It's very, very important, because once you lack the need or the feeling of having like a purposeful life, you start feeling like there is no need for you to be in this world. You start the emptiness. You start questioning why you even exist. You start questioning, okay, where does my life start and where does it end? Right? So it's important for one to, if you don't have a purpose, create it. If you haven't found your purpose, pray about it, because we are Christians. We also talk about, God helping us to understand what our purpose is.
Right.
So I think creating a purpose is an important part of us improving our psychological well-being.
Yeah. I also think it is important that we evaluate, we assess ourselves, we ask ourselves, where am I now? Because we've talked about me having a purpose. It's important that I keep checking myself. That is why I've said, dealing with everything that is self-evaluation, self-assessment. Let me do an assessment of where I am so far. I think because we are now talking about somebody also improving the psyche, it's also important to understand and also to highlight what is this that could affect our psychological well-being, because we are seeing, like right now, somebody has gotten to a point of being suicidal, to a point of breaking down, to a point of it's the end. So what do you think, according to you, has brought this person to this state?
To the state of
breaking, to the state that the psychological well-being has been affected. What can affect the psychological well-being?
What can affect the first of is, like, for example, lack of purpose.
Yeah.
Lack of purpose. Like I said, you have to feel that you're living for something bigger than just eating and drinking and sleeping. The other thing is, loneliness.
Yeah.
Is very, very dangerous, because we as human beings have been created to be social creatures. Even in the Bible, God looked at Adam and he thought, this person is lonely. He needs somebody. So we have been created to be social creatures. So if you are lonely, you don't have and loneliness doesn't mean that you have a partner or like an opposite sex partner. No, it doesn't mean that.
With the partner.
You could be lonely with the partner. When we say that you have to have relationship, you have to foster relationships, and you also have to connect with others, it's because you need to feel that you are fulfilling yourself through other people. You're giving, and at the same time as you're giving, you're also receiving. You're sharing, you are doing things that make you happy. You are able to connect with other people apart from yourself, like I said, because human beings are social creatures. So we need each other. And so the more you build good connections and the more you foster good relationships, the more you're going to be able to take care of your psyche, or rather your psychological well-being. So if you don't have that, then that leads to one not being well. And it's also important for us to note that you don't have to have like a big circle of people. You can have even like 1 or 2 people who you normally like share with, like speak yourself. You can be yourself. You can be just your authentic self. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to put on a face.
Yeah.
You don't have to be, like mature. You're just being you. That is going to help you to become, like, to have a better psychological well-being.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you don't take care of that as well, you're also going to go down the drain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I think you've talked about an important thing that we assume it's there. So when you're relating with people and you're with your partner, you're with your friends, and you could be lonely even when you're with your friends. I think that is so important to note. So again, it goes back to you introspecting and you going back to the relationships and analyzing whether it's a two-way thing. Because the minute it's a one-way, it is actually going to drain you, and that is why you're being lonely. So for me, I think to add on what you've said, the one could be psychologically unwell because of the environment to start with. Like, environment is everything. There's no way you are going to stay in water, around water, within water, and you're not going to get wet, right? So your environment actually affects you. It either affects you consciously or unconsciously. You could be in a place where there is violence. For example, let's just take an example of a child who is brought up in a home that is domestically violent. And this child is not getting involved in the violence, so that he or she is not taking the cups and throwing at the mother or the father or anything. But later in life, this child comes to fight. Why is that so? It means that this child got caught up in that violence, and now unconsciously this child is revenging to this other person, the one who is beating now, when this child grows up. So environment is actually very important. That is why we are told you surround yourself with the people who have a positive impact, because even those that have negative energy, they're just going to pass it on to you. True. Right? Yeah. Also want to add about personalities. We are created uniquely. It is interesting. I think we shall do later on about stress and stress management. There's a certain personality that are easily prone to stress. Now that goes to personality, meaning that there is just a personality of us. There is just the way we are created. It's like you
can't help it, but be stressed or like be worried almost all the time.
And when you're stressed or worried, your psychological well-being has been affected, right? Also your childhood and traumas, past traumas. We pass through a lot. We pass through different things. It could be the way the home setup was. It could be in school bullying. It could be in your growing up. So along the way, the experience that we normally have, if we have not dealt with them, at some point they get triggered. In everything that we deal with, they get triggered. So if it's good that we go back and deal with them and face the trauma, so that at least when these things come, they won't affect. When these other things come, they won't trigger us, so that we are affected psychologically. That is why I still insist on talk therapy and counseling. It's important, right?
Wow, that's important. Now, thinking about it, I think I can share a little bit on my story. Because as much as we are, telling people stuff, we also are human beings, and we have gone through things. And there was a time I was really struggling so much with my psyche. Because I had gone through a very, very, very traumatizing thing. I experienced being raped at a very tender age. And so at some point, it didn't happen immediately. The psychological effect didn't happen immediately. It happened after some time. So after some time, I really started struggling with like now myself, accepting myself, thinking, okay, this happened, and now I have to learn to live with now the new reality.
Yeah.
So those are two different things. There was the me that existed before that,
Yeah.
and now there is a me that survives whatever I went through.
That's right.
And let me tell you something. When you go through trauma, when you go through stages in life that really alter how you thought life should be, it really affects your psychological well-being.
Yeah.
And so I would find most of the times I'm like wondering, okay, why am I in this world? Like, why am I here? Why do I have to be here with all this pain I'm enduring?
Yeah.
And I was, at some point I wasn't even able to even have a social life. I started like wanting to isolate
down.
myself.
Yeah.
I'm shutting down. My emotions were all over. I didn't know how to deal with whatever was happening to me. At sometimes you start feeling like you're really even losing your purpose to live.
Right.
And so for me to be able to pick myself up, I had now to tune into my psyche,
Okay.
or what you're calling the psychological facet
Okay.
or perspective. I had to tell myself that I cannot be defined by whatever I went through.
Right.
I had to tell myself that I have to keep on going because there is a purpose I have to fulfill in this life. And also I started working towards expressing gratitude. I have to be very mindful of whatever I'm going through. I had to also be practice just forgiving myself, because sometimes when we go through difficulties, you want to keep punishing yourself, asking yourself, why did you allow yourself to be that vulnerable or to be like in that situation, and also letting things go. It happened. What can I do about that? Nothing. It happened. Although it's a journey, it's not like one thing you wake up in the morning and then you're it's gone. It's something you have to work on daily. And let me tell you something, it happened long time ago, but there are times even today I still like find myself struggling with that, although the effects are not as
tangible as they were
at that time. So you can, with the way we are saying, you might think that the psychological stuff is like almost nearing the social things, but it's because they are almost the same, but they are not the same. Because now, for example, when I say like I didn't want to go out, that sounds like a social thing. It's a social thing, yes, and it's also a psychological thing, because you need to have the willingness to do something, and that willingness also comes from our minds and our brains, the way we perceive things, the way we see things, the way we internalize things. Because when you're internalizing that you don't need to go out, you need to stay inside, and you don't need to be seen by people, you see, that is how you're internalizing life. So that is my story I wanted to share with you people. Because I think every time that you share something, and every time that you tell somebody of something, and also share your experience, then it makes a difference. And also it makes somebody know that, hey, I can overcome. And I also want to tell somebody, if they are struggling with their psychological stuff, you will overcome, and you can overcome. It's not a one day outcome, but you keep working at it, and I think you'll come out the other side being stronger than you are.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I'm very sorry for what happened to you. I can see that you've gotten a big progress from when you experienced that until now you've overcome it. So thank you so much for sharing with our audience what you went through. I'm sure it's going to relate to someone and help someone through. So I think on that note, it is important that we continue practicing psychological well-being. Do it for yourself, do it for your loved ones, because you realize the minute you're not okay and you're thinking it's all on you, when you're depressed, we are also depressed with you, right?
True.
When you're not well, we are not also well with you. Those your friends, your loved ones, they are also unwell when you're unwell, right? So it's important that you also remember them. Please do good to yourself, love yourself, take care of yourself, and above all, God loves you. I think on that note, we can say bye for our episode. Until next time, remember to comment and we shall get back to you.
Thank you so much for watching. Bye.